So, hello, I'm Joey Verweda from Thorworks Game Development Studios. I'm going to talk a little bit about MassiveEngine, GameKit, and Blender as a game development suite. Basically, I want to start a little with the summary, if it accepts my input. It doesn't do anything. There it is. This is the stuff I'm wanting to talk about for a moment. First, about Thorworks. What do we do and why do we do it? We wanted to talk about the quest for a game engine, which has been quite hard for us. We're going to talk a bit about GameKit, and specifically OgreKit, which is a great program done by Erwin, who is also responsible for Bullet, providing a link between Ogre and external game components. About the MassiveEngine, and you see the rest up there. First of all, what is Thorworks and what do we do? We started in 2007 as a group of people just wanted to create games. That kind of began to become a really big hobby, so we started as a company. Actually did a presentation in 2009 about a proof of concept game we were doing called Gronos, which is currently in proof of concept and on a hold for a future project. And our main thing is creating a game, but also our game engine, which is MassiveEngine, based on Blender. We design and produce immersive games, which is a quite random term, actually, but the idea is to create games that have another dimension, which can be found in like good fantasy books, and bring that towards games. So, what we did in the past, the quest for a game engine, we actually created the first draft of the MassiveEngine in 2007 by plain include Ogre and stuff like that, which was really simple. But also did some proof of concept designs on other kind of game engines. We really like to work with Ogre 3D, which is a rendering library which really spoke to us. And also tested NeoAxis, which is virtually a Windows and Mac OS X based game engine which uses .NET, which was not really what we searched for, since multi-platform is really important to us, and Linux in particular. So what we did was, I think I skipped one. What we did was Gronos, which was first version on the pre-MassiveEngine, so the first build. We finished on NeoAxis with a prototype build which could be playable, but we decided not to release it yet, and after creating our new game engine, use it as a student project for possible interns to port the game towards the new game engine and see what's possible. This is one of the requirements. Oh, I'm not supposed to scroll. These are the requirements of what we really find essential as a game developer. We really wanted to use Ogre 3D and Blender in particular, since we really love how it works, but also the capabilities of extending Blender to do just more than only modeling or animating or just the basic things. And this is a quite big list of requirements that we have, but we wanted to find or create a game engine that could do everything. And at the end, we found GameKit, which is the great project I talked about earlier, which already has a Blender loader. And the idea of this project is that everything within Blender gets imported directly into Ogre without importers, exporters, parsers, whatever. Just directly load every content and be able to work with it. But then there is I want to show GameKit at the moment, just a demo and just how it works. It actually got a great demo based on logic bricks within Blender, and I want to show that for a moment. Wait, I think I need to. It's very hard with the mouse. I think I need to. One moment. I got the resolution's not right. Okay. There we go again. This should work on the right screen, but it doesn't. That's not a good thing. Let's see if I can fix it. It should work. I haven't tried it on multiple screens, though. Let's clone screen for a moment. Apply. Let's do it this way. So this is OgreKit. It's just a basic Ogre parser with good, like the physics is working, loads everything directly from the Blender game properties and just do whatever. This is actually a demo using only logic breaks. GameKit also supports Lua and also supports C++, which we are using for our game engine. And the possibilities are really great, since prototyping with this is really easy, and you get all the advantages you have from Ogre and all the advantages from everything you should want to do with game engine. So I'm going to look at the blend farm for a moment, which should run now. Yeah, there it is. So this is the scene, and as you can see in the button, everything regarding the most basic functionality of the scene is in logic bricks. This is actually something I play with a little bit, doing really quick prototyping, and it works quite fine. To look at something, I think here it is. I really need this one. Okay, if you look at one of those physics boxes, you can see that we're moving to physics right now. I need Blender game. That is just uses the physics properties from the game engine components and then translate it into a functioning component within the game. And although this is really fine and this is a really great application, this was not entirely all the things we need. So what we did was using GameKit as a base, the C++ demo, and added to the list what are the things we need. One of the things were networking, which is quite important nowadays in game engines, because you want to be able to do multiplayer games, but also want to be able to exchange data for whatever. So we created SheepNet. SheepNet is a networking library we are currently developing in-house, which is going to do like all kind of crazy stuff. AI, which is still pending. We really don't know yet what we're going to use for that. Our GUI solution was solved by MyGUI, which is a great Ogre GUI library, but also more framework. GameKit is quite basic in most things, and if you're a game developer and just want to develop a game, there are too many things that still need to be implemented before you can just start creating your game. Stuff like actor handling, which we have our own great actor system for, which I'm going to talk about a little later. And one of the things which is really important for us is a good designer versus coder. And what I mean with that is that most game engines focuses too much on code or focuses too much on the designers. And the problem is that I didn't find a game engine yet which used both components and created one development team working together instead of two teams constantly battling between whose fault it is that the scene crashes or something like that. So what we want to do is create a solid C++ framework for coders to do what they're best at, just coding. We want to give them direct access to the core so they can modify everything they should need, be able to implement designer hooks so designers can do with it whatever they want, and logic in C++ syntax, but with simplified actor logic for designers. What we mean with that is that if the coders see a part of scripting that the designers wrote that is not really hard to understand what's going on. And the syntax is not too complex for designers as well, because if you want to use C++ entirely, then the designers don't know what's happening, and they start blabbering about everything being too difficult. So what we wanted to do in a designer-friendly way is use Blender, because everybody we ever met that wanted to get into game design does something with Blender, so that was the most logical choice. And we want the designer to do simple logic functions like make an object move, along waypoints, modify the player, but without actually having to dive into the code and learning scripting language like Lua or like Python or stuff like that. So, but what I said earlier, it's very important that the programmer still understands the properties the designers are using in the syntax without having to look, okay, what is this doing and what is this doing in the code and whatever. So this is a quick look at the workflow we wanted. We wanted everybody to work with the tools they should work with and they want to use. So everything is related to the Blender MassiveEngine, and designers have access to the Blender 3D and MyGUI editor. We don't know yet how we're going to fix a different editor in MyGUI into Blender. We're still figuring that out, maybe doing like some weird viewport thing. But the thing is that everybody can connect to the same thing, and everyone is working on the same base, but without having to do like importing, exporting, whatever. So if there's something goes wrong in your scene and you're absolutely sure that's a programming failure, you can actually give them the scene and they can open it and see the log files and figure it out without having to look at the importer first, looking at the exporter first, and something going wrong with the conversion or something like that. So these are two things that was really hard for me to use small words for, so I wrote two statements. Actors handles all the blend file configuration scripting and works with all configurable MassiveEngine components. Actors is actually a parser that uses data from within Blender and uses it as configurations for the components which are in the game. So if a programmer writes a need function, the designer can put some values in Blender. At the moment we're using text files, but that might change in the future, or it might be that we are creating a GUI that can change those values. But they can put in whatever values they want, and it works. It just works. And the idea is that MassiveEngine contains all the basic implementation of important game systems, so skill systems and progress systems for all their game designers, because most of the time when you got an engine and it's quite basic, you have to write everything from scratch, since it got a template which you can use, or you write it entirely yourself. The things we want to do is create a basic of every system, which is like reinventing the wheel every time you create it, and being able to develop your own system upon those basics. And those basics can be actually configured by using ME actors within the blend files. So I'm going to show a little bit what we are doing right now. The first thing I want to look at is a demo scene we created. Let's open the terminal for a moment. Wow. Weird keyboard. Okay, here we go now. Oh, I forgot to change the resolution. So nothing is really fancy right now, since our designers are working on our game and not really on our game engine at the moment, since we're developing both at the same time. So this might be not the best looking content we ever did. I think it's called Demo Blend. We will figure it out in a moment. This is just a test scene to show every basic working component. I will then open a blend file and make something move and make something do something. Basically, the load times are a little high right now. We did not do optimizing yet for the loading time, but what the engine is doing right now is directly loading every component from the blend file and interpret it so it can be used in the renderer and giving it the logic it should have. But also, for instance, we have some cubes in the scene that uses the physics properties from the Blender game engine, and it's just interpreting that and giving it logic, so that if you push a barrel or if you push a cube, that it just works like it should work in the Blender game engine. So this is a basic scene, and if we walk in the park right here. There are a couple of cubes here. I can just push the cubes, and this got translated in exactly the same way it should work in the Blender game engine. You could also use the Blender game engine to do like the basic things and test it within the Blender game engine. And the functionality should be the same within OgreKit. So this is actually quite basic. What already was in GameKit, but then in our own little scene. What I'm going to do now is show a little bit about ME actors. I'm going to take one of those cubes and move that cube to another location using one of our mover actors. It's still in development, so it's faults when you exit it. Something quite common, I think. Okay, so I'm going to open the blend file for a moment. Let's full screen this. Can I full screen? Oh no, it doesn't want to do that. Come on. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. So this is the scene we just looked at. And if I go to the one of the crates over here, you can see the physics is set on rigid bodies. It's an actor, and all the values in here are compatible with what it did in the game. If I take this cube, for instance, this cube is called crate A.002, and I want to move it to another location. What we're doing at the moment is we go to the text editor. Oh yeah, we also got support for things like material files already active in Ogre, which are normally used, and you can also apply stuff like GLSL shaders upon materials and link it to a texture or something from within Blender. But that's a whole different story. We should make a simple config. Let's get rid of this. The plus button, what? Why do I need to hit the plus button? Anyway. Oh, what? I need to focus on my mouse is not working with me. Phew. I need to focus on this. Okay, that's good. I can say config is cube, what was it? Cube A.003, I think? 2. Okay, thank you. And we define the type. Crate. Oh, sorry. Crate A. Okay. Everybody cool? Yeah. Okay. We can make it a mover, and we can give it a direction. The direction is currently done in XYZ axis. So if we want to move it along the, let's say, Y axis, we just do 0, 1, 0. Speed is done in, I think, Blender units per second at the moment. Yeah, exactly. Because we wanted to use like the Blender units to give indication of how everything is going, since it is already in Blender, so why do it differently? So let's make it 4. Let's give it, I think I need my cheat sheet for a moment. Yeah, one moment, okay. I'm just going to copy the rest. Control. Okay. So I can put in distance, and distance is also done in Blender units, so let's make it 8. Return when done, we can set if it returns after it reaches its destination. How many returns we're doing, acceleration, which is also Blender units per second, and if it resets the speed when it's done. Because if you don't reset the speed, it will just count up, since acceleration is a plus modifier for the speed per second. And I guess we want to reset that. So I'm just saving this, and the only thing I need to do is open the scene again. Where's my terminal? Low level. This takes a little while. But what the engine is doing right now, it is parsing the file, looking at the configs within. It detects everything that's named config or has config in it. So you could also do like one configuration for a dozen of objects, but you could also create a config per object, whatever you want to do. And also you can use this mover on everything that's within Blender, not only...
How is it loaded? Is it via scripting, Python, binary?
We're using C++ for everything. So basically everything that is not configurable within Blender is C++. We did it because of the programmer compatibility, and also because...
What code do you use? You wrote your own Blender with them? Or you use the bullet?
Yeah, this is actually created in GameKit. GameKit uses bparse, I think, to just import everything to Ogre, and we are using that and create our own text parser, so it can read text files from within Blender and give it logic, whatever you want it to do. So I guess I think I need to run, because it already started moving. So yeah, it's standing on the other side, and we didn't saw it move because I did not. Okay, maybe I need to make it move a little more. Sorry about that. Huh? Oh yeah, I could use the light scene. That's also a good idea. The light scene already has like a working example for this, which we are. How do you mean? Yep. No, that is not working, since the logic is created to be recognized by Ogre, and Ogre just gives it logic and do whatever it wants. So the only thing we could do in Blender Game Engine is just GLSL. We could create shaders and test it in the Game Engine, and it should look exactly the same as in Ogre. We can run through the scene and see stuff created, but we cannot actually use the logic in any actors in the Blender Game Engine. That is something we might look at. Sounds fun. Not for the one creating it, but sounds fun anyway. Fun with an S? Oh, sorry. You created it. But in this scene, we're just standing in a cube. And what it is doing right now is there's one static light and there's one light that is moving, not with a mover, but with a waypoint mover. What we did is it's just exactly the same like the mover, but you can create some empties and have call those empties within the script, and then it just moves along those empties. I guess you can see the light moving a little bit. We're just standing in a cube with two lights, by the way, so that's quite funny. And I think you can see cubes. No, not really. Okay. There was the light, yeah. And if I open the scene right now, this is the scene. Fun little thing. And if you see, this is the whole logic we give the cube. So We actually had a problem with accessing lights directly and making it move. So what we did for at the moment, we created a cube, and the light is parented at the cube. We're just moving the cube, but it's just a small bug. You should be able to move everything, cameras, lights, whatever, with this logic. So the only thing we did right now was making it a waypoint mover and setting points, which are, I think, just empties. Let's get this spawn position. There's one. There's 0.4. And there was 0.3, I think. Oh, no, 0.1. Okay. And it just moves along the locations you set. It interprets it, and it moves everything. So what you could do is reset speed on waypoint and have the acceleration reset, or you can just make it accelerate like immensely. Let's just do that. It's funny. And have the speed set to 1. So it starts off slow and then accelerates. Reset speed on waypoint. I think it should be false then. And these values are at the moment just in a text file, but they could be implemented within like a Python script or something, an add-on that could just use drop-down boxes, and you can use sliders to give it speed or acceleration. But that's something we are currently looking into and might add in future development. So if we're looking at the light now, it starts quite slow. I don't know where it is right now. There's the green light. It's moving quite slow. But it's accelerating. It's accelerating more and more and more. Oh, I can make the ogre dance, by the way. We added in it, so why not, you know? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know why it's doing. Maybe I misinterpreted the resets. Oh, what? Sorry? Oh, what? No, it got 2 L's. Better? Okay, so now it should work. Let's redo that. That was his fault, by the way. He wrote the scene. So if we're doing live.blend, it will load live.blend. And as you can see, it's doing a lot more, and it keeps accelerating. And I think we never actually tested it if it could crash the scene. I think it should not crash. It's quite stable, but yeah, it's doing all like trippy things and keep accelerating until, I don't know. I don't know if there's a max value, but yeah, it looked like a sweet rave party right now, you know. So you could also create sweet rave parties with the MassiveEngine, but digital. Although if you use Connect, you can place yourself within the sweet rave party, but yeah. Yeah, okay, I think it's doing this indefinitely. But the idea with this is that this is just some basic configuration we did right now. But the idea is that you can give everything logic from within Blender and reach it directly out of the blend files and make it do stuff. And we could do this for like if we have a game with a spell system and we want a certain NPC to have a certain spell, we could make it type NPC spell is and select what kind of spells that NPC got. So a designer can just create a random NPC, just load in some kind of humanoid or whatever, create a config, and then you have a new NPC that has those powers. So it should be really simple for designers to create new content. And in this way, designers doesn't have to depend on the really complex configurations or scripting, and the programmers can just add everything they want to add without each other bothering. And if the designer wants a new function, they just talk to the programmer, programmer creates it, you have new functionality. So that's quite simple. I think that's about it for the real-time presentation. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. We'll go further then. 5 minutes? Okay, I will just skip through it. Future development. These are some kind of things we want to do with Game Engine. There is already a basic shader compositor that you could link to the MassiveEngine, so you could just use the Blender shader compositor, and it recompiles to Ogre materials. And it is not really working at the moment in the way we want it to work, since Ogre is still in like CVS and redoing the entire shader system. But this will be done in the future. And also one thing we want to do is have a MassiveEngine real-time viewport for Blender. So you can just press P, for instance, and run through it without having to open external applications, and maybe even having a render window open and just like Cycle should work, something like that. And also, yeah, there are some things on the list we really want to do, and we think we can reach everything. So quite ambitious, but why not? Our engine is currently on an own license called Thor software license. It's a case-selective license for commercial, indie, and custom Thorworks agreements, which include freeware game, open source projects, academic use. We are open to everything. If you have a great project and you want to develop using our engine, just send in an email and we can talk everything through. Since we really love open source, we want to be able to outsource our engine and give it to everybody, but also be able to give it to high-end developers which are working commercially and develop a PS3 game, for instance. So we have some things going on. We want to do a pre-alpha test of our game engine and thinking about doing a contest which is for a Blender-related game, so people who want to create games with Blender. And we want to give a pre-alpha version of our engine to one of the game developers to work closely and see what does the developers want, what does we want, and see if we can make everything better. And we are going to announce our first commercial game, which we already are working on since January this year. And we want to announce it in April and hopefully have some screenshots, some working components and stuff like that. Are there any questions? Yeah, we actually use GameKit as a base component for our engine, since it's got all the C++ functionality and stuff like that. But we are extending upon GameKit, since GameKit is at the moment quite basic and quite not feature complete. So we're actually using the components and the ideas of GameKit, but develop our own version, basically. Sorry? What? We're actually not enhancing GameKit itself, but we are creating something based on GameKit. So a lot of the code is going to be replaced with own code and own components and stuff like that.
Why didn't you consider to show the GameKit team? Because GameKit develops.
Yeah, I know there are more people involved in GameKit, that's true. But since GameKit is already doing a different kind of renderers, it's also doing Airlight at the moment, and I think they're doing like a native OpenGL. They're heading in an entire different direction of what we wanted to do with our game engine. So the different thing is we wanted to create like GameKit wants to be really versatile and support Lua and support whatever, and we want one embedded game engine to do exactly what we want it to do and not be involved with all those things around it. So, and since GameKit is also at the moment working on different kind of game renderers like Airlight or OpenGL or whatever, it's a little bit too wide open for us to work with. So. Yeah.
And I haven't seen that yet. GameKit doesn't have it support for characters. Or does it?
How do you mean support for characters?
GameKit doesn't have character support.
The ogre that was used in the presentation is just a plain blend file with the rig in it, and yeah, it's no. It's actually I can show it for. Can I show for 1 second? Yeah. If you look at the ogre over there. Oh, that's not what I wanted to show. Where's our mesh? Alt-H? Ah, okay, there it is. It's just, no, this is the ogre, and there's the rig. So it actually reads everything from within Blender, including the rig, the materials, the components, whatever, and then converts it to a workable state. So you could just, take a Sintel, for instance, make it a little bit more game compatible and just. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that while what our scene is loading so long for is that we did not do any load optimizations yet. So everything is still unoptimized and just putting everything in RAM and stuff like that. So. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, thank you. We can be found everywhere, so if you just want to get in contact, just send in an email, do Twitter or whatever. Thank you for your time.